Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to this training session with InfoTrack today. We will be talking about SignIT, which is our electronic signature product. With me to walk us through this is Sam Louisu, who is a product manager for SignIT. About SignIT today, our e-signature solution with a particular focus on using it with land registry deeds. So on the agenda today, we have what is an e-signature, who can use it, what are they used for, and who regulates them. The full process of the land registry deed, looking at it from both the solicitor's perspective and from that of the signer. And we'll also go through some of the common challenges that people sometimes face with e-signatures. Okay, without any further ado, before I do pass over to Sam, just a quick reminder, we will have time for questions at the end of the session. If you do have any questions, you should see a little Q&A box at the bottom of your Zoom screen. So just drop your questions in there. Try to keep them, please, relevant to the content of this session. If you've got any queries regarding your particular account, any charging issues and things like that, please address those to your account manager. There's a lot of people on the call, so we probably won't get through all of the questions, but any questions we don't answer, we will follow up, and either Sam will follow up directly or your account managers will follow up. Okay, without any further ado, I shall pass over to Sam.
Thank you, Chris. So, what is an e-signature? An e-signature is basically your electronic version of your wet ink signatures. They are now used and trusted because of the certificate that accompanies the electronic process that will log the date, time, IP addresses, location of that person signing. Next slide. So we have electronic signatures embedded in our InfoTrack platform. It's called SignIT. Anyone with access to InfoTrack will be able to use the SignIT platform, and the land registry now accepts electronically signed deeds with the requirements set out in their practice guide 82. So although it's important that you read and familiarise yourself with the practice guide 82, we are also familiar with it and have built their requirements into our SignIT for Deeds product. So I will now share my screen, show you what that looks like. So you will be familiar with our InfoTrack platform. SignIT sits in the workflow underneath productivity. If you were in the training last week, you will remember that we have the classic option and we also have the land registry deed option. So the classic option for SignIT is to get any document signed electronically, but we specifically have a tab at the top for land registry deeds. So if you are sending a deed for electronic signature, you will need to make sure that you are on this land registry deed tab, and that will ensure that you have included all of the land registry's requirements for an electronically signed deed. So if you are integrated through your case management system, you will, one second, we will pull through your case reference number, and so you won't have to rekey that. The property details you'll see is an extra requirement to what we have in our classic version of SignIT. And the reason that we ask for the property details is the land registry's requirement is for, I'll type and talk. So the land registry's requirement is to provide a conveyance's certificate with your electronically signed deed. So it's important that you fill in all of the information on this creation page, as we will create that conveyance's certificate for you. We create it at the point of you creating this envelope, and therefore it cannot be changed at a later date. So it's important that you get the property details correct at this point. You've then got the option to upload your documents. You've got the options to upload as many documents here as you want. You've got the drop-down box to select the application that you are submitting for electronic signature. And again, it's important that you select the correct document that you are uploading, because that too gets pulled through to the conveyancer's certificate. You can then upload your document. I am going to use a transfer. And then the conveyancer details is the person who's going to date this deed once everybody has signed, but also the person that signs off the conveyancer's certificate. That needs to be a licensed conveyancer or a solicitor. So although a support staff member can create this envelope, it's important that they use the drop down to select the conveyancer or solicitor here, so that they can sign off the conveyancer's certificate at the end. You then have the option to add your signers. So you can have as many signers in here as you want, and you'll see that you've got the details to add the name, email address, and SMS verification for your signers. You'll see that the SMS verification is a mandatory field, and that is because sending a two-factor authentication to a mobile telephone number is one of the Land Registry's requirements, and so you must put the mobile number in here. There are an exception to the rule. So if, for example, you've got a company with 2 signers, if you have 2 directors, you no longer need a witness, and we already have those rules in the platform. You'll also see that if you have a director and a company secretary, you also don't need a witness, and we have removed the mandatory witness option over here. Just going to go back to one signer. It is important that you select the correct role, as this too will be pulled through to the conveyancer's certificate. And you can put in the details of your signer. Oh. Okay, once you've got all the details of your signers in here, you can then proceed to document setup, which will take you to the document that you've uploaded. You'll see on the left-hand side that you've got the relevant tags to drag into the document where you need them. So for example, on a transfer, you would want that dated by the conveyancer. So you can just drag and drop the date tag into the document where you need it. And then you can scroll down, and we've got the signatures here. So for the signer, you can drag the signer tag through, and for the witness, you can do the same. So you can see here that it says witness for Sally Signer. So what that means is that you don't have to get involved in this witness nomination process. Your signer will nominate their witness. You don't have to know who that witness is going to be in advance. Once you've got all of the tags in the document in the correct place, you've then got the button to request signatures, and that's when the process will begin. So we will send an email to your signer and ask them to nominate their witness. In the InfoTrack platform, we will have the witness tab. The witness tab will show you all of your signers, and then a status. So if you're still awaiting the witness form, you will see that as a status. If your signers say they haven't received the email, we have a resend email button over here on the right-hand side. You've also got the options here in settings to invalidate a workspace. If you've accidentally sent that out, you can invalidate the whole workspace using the invalidate tick box here. So I'm just going to show you what that will look like for your signers. So you've sent your email to the signer. The first thing that will happen is they will receive an email asking them to nominate a witness. So we give them the requirements for a witness, so reminding them that the witness needs to be physically present, older than 18, and can't be another signer of this document. And they've got a Start Now button, which will take them to a very simple witness nomination form. In that witness nomination form, they will have a preview of the document they'll be signing, and they can then put in the details of their witness. And then they've got the orange witness nomination, nominate witness button. Once they have nominated their witness, they will then receive an email for them to sign. Back from your point of view, we will then add a SignIT tab, which will give you the details of all of your signers and their witnesses, and then you as the conveyancer signing that off at the end. You do have the option to edit the witness. So if your signer has accidentally made a typo in the email address or the mobile telephone number, you can use the edit button on the right here to edit those details. You also have the resend button to be able to resend those emails. Your client will then receive an email to sign the document. It's a very short email with your logo over on the top right-hand side. They have a review document orange button, which will allow them to open the document. As per the land registry's requirements, there is a two-factor authentication process that needs to happen before they view the document. And so they will just need to double check their mobile telephone number is correct and send an SMS. That text message will come direct to their phone and give them a one-time passcode that they will then key in here. And confirm the code. Once they have confirmed the code, it's at that point then that they will see the deed document that you have sent them to sign. They'll need to agree that they are signing electronically. They are then able to view the document and sign where you've added the tags for them to sign. You'll see that they can't amend any of the document and they can't complete information for any of the other signers. They've got the option to sign by adopting a signature, drawing a signature, or uploading a signature. You can add that to the document and finish. They won't be able to finish this process until they've completed all of the tags that you have dragged into the document for them to complete. Once your signer has signed, it will go direct to their witness, and their witness will then follow the same process. So they have the review document button. They then have to do the two-factor authentication. And type in the code. Okay. They follow the same process by agreeing to sign electronically. They can then only complete the details where the tags we have dragged in for them. We'll pull through as much information as we can. So you'll see that we've pulled in their name, we've pulled in the address from the witness nomination form, and they can also amend that to add the postcode, for example, and then they can sign the document. You may have seen that I dragged in a tag called witness statement, and that witness statement basically brings in this paragraph. I confirm that I was physically present when Sally Signer signed this deed, which is also a requirement for the electronically signed deeds. Okay. So once all of your signers have signed and all of your witnesses have signed, you will see from your side on the SignIT tab, the details will be updated here. So you'll be able to see the status, you'll be able to see who has signed, you will then be able to see who is next to sign. You've got a full audit process, so you will be able to see when an email has been sent to somebody to sign. So if you need to chase somebody, you can know who you need to chase using the audit trail. We also have reminders in here, so you can set reminders to automatically remind your signers to sign, and you also have a warning prior to this envelope expiring. So each SignIT envelope is valid for 120 days. So normally that's enough time for you to get all of your signers and your witnesses to sign the document. It means that you need to date the document within that time too, and we will send you an email one day before it expires. If you feel like you need more time, you can use that drop down to select another reminder. You also have the option in settings to invalidate the workspace in here too. So once all of your signers have signed and all of your witnesses have signed, you will receive an email as the conveyancer to date the deed and to sign off the conveyancer's certificate. At this point, you may not be ready to date the transfer, and that's absolutely fine. You can either leave that email in your inbox, or you can use the option in the SignIT tab to resend that email when you are ready to date that. Just remember that the envelope expires within 120 days. When you are ready to date the transfer, you'll receive a very similar email to your client. You've got the review document button, which will take you straight to the document. Okay. You can then put the date in here. Check that everybody's signed. And then you'll see the conveyancer's certificate. So the conveyancer's certificate is what the land registry require you to provide with any electronically signed deeds. You'll see that the information in here is the information we use to set up this envelope at the beginning. So as I mentioned then, it is very important that you get that information correct at that point, as there is no way of changing it at this stage. Okay. All you then need to do is sign off that conveyancer certificate and press finish. Once you have dated and signed off the conveyancer certificate, we will send you a final copy of that document. We will also send a copy to the signers. We will not send a copy of the document to any witnesses. You'll also see that that gets updated in the SignIT tab to show that everybody has signed. We will also update related files to show your completed transfer, your conveyancer certificate, and the SignIT certificate, which is effectively the DocuSign certificate, which logs the dates, times, IP addresses, etc. We will save all of these documents back to your case management system if you are integrated. And you can always come back here to review them. You can download the documents from here too. And I think that's it. I think we're ready for any questions.
Thank you, Sam. There are a few questions coming in. Thank you, guys, for those. I will start at the top and try and answer these. Hopefully bunch them up where relevant, where there's crossover. So any questions that we don't get to, we will follow up separately. Okay, so starting at the top, you'd normally not necessarily have a title number, and yet the title number was a required field. Sam, is that normally, can we use the system without the title number?
That is a very good question. It is a required field. It is required in the conveyancer certificate, but it might be something that I can look into on that particular inquiry. I know you're anonymous, but if you can email into your account manager, then I can answer that on a separate note, if that's okay.
Okay, thank you for that one. So with regards to witness statements, just a question as to the terminology.
Yeah.
Does that have to be included? This particular inquiry suggests that they would usually change the words to witness occupation. Is that something that we need to include in the electronic document?
You need to include the witness statement. It is a mandatory field, and I'm not sure if, by the way that question is worded, that you thought it might have meant something else, but it basically pulls in the wording. We confirm that we were physically present when this was signed, so it is needed for that electronic signature. Also acts as a reminder for your witness to remind them that they should be physically present when electronically signing.
Good stuff. And if a land registry doc is signed in the classic version, is that still acceptable?
So the quick answer is no. There are certain requirements of the land registries, but if you were going to create your own conveyancer certificate, and if you had used the classic option and included the two-factor authentication option, which is possible through our classic version, then yes, that would be accepted by the land registry. You're much safer using the land registry deeds option, because then you can be sure that you've included all of the requirements in the practice guide.
Fantastic. Okay, a few people have actually asked this question with regards to whether a Silex lawyer or a chartered legal executive can sign off. Do you need to be a CRC or a solicitor?
It's a good question. I think you are okay, but I would double check on the practice guide, because I wouldn't like to say for sure.
Thank you. So on that note, we're not really in a position here on this webinar to give strict advice on that, but it's definitely worth verifying. Okay, so presumably if getting the documents signed by both sides of the transaction, you need to have details of the other side's email and phone number, or can that be inserted by the other side's solicitor?
It's entirely up to you. What people normally do is just get their deed signed electronically, and then the other side can then choose to put their deed through their own electronic signature solution, or even get that signed wet ink. If you want to use the solution to get both sides to sign the transfer, that's fine, but you will need their signers' details in advance so that you can then put those into the system and create the envelope from the beginning.
Fantastic. Okay. I have already had a client sign the transfer and complete last week. However, I was unaware and didn't sign the document for the SignIT form. Can that now be done?
I might need to answer this one on a specific case basis. I'm thinking you might have used the classic version, as if you'd used the deeds option, we would automatically included you as a signer to sign that off. So I might need to look at that example outside of this.
Okay, we'll follow up separately on that one, Shawnee. Thank you for asking the question. Okay, just keep spinning through some of these. Apologies while I pause and read. I just want to make sure I'm not repeating things or throwing Sam under a bus.
I don't mind answering this one. It's a good question. Chris, what is documents locked to creator? So in a classic SignIT, we lock the document to the creator, the person that's created it, and so the rest of the team can't see it, just in case you are sharing HR documents. With deeds, we don't do that, so everyone will have access, and you will have seen on the SignIT tab that the documents locked to creator was greyed out, so it's not actually applicable for the deeds.
Fantastic. Okay. Okay, if your document is signed and ready to date it, do you have to go through the link in your email or go through the InfoTrack portal? Is it saved on the individual case?
You will need to go through the email link. You don't have to keep that in your inbox though. There is an option on our platform to resend the email, so you can just get rid of it from your inbox. If you're like me and like to keep your inbox clean, then you can come back to the InfoTrack platform on that matter and resend that email when you're ready to date it.
Okay, thank you. Okay, what documents can be signed for land registry? A couple of examples there: mortgage deed, contract.
That's a good question. So we do have the list of documents there. So if you take a look on the SignIT deeds page, the list of applications is there. The mortgage deed needs to be sent through the land registry tab, but the contract doesn't necessarily need to be sent through land registry deeds, and you can send that through Classic. However, if you send them both together, if that's your usual procedure, then you can absolutely do that. You can upload both documents, so your transfer and your contract, for example. Just make sure that you've used the correct drop down in the application drop down when you create that envelope, and that will pull through correctly into the conveyancer's certificate. That's obviously a two-part question. How much is each document sign? So we charge per envelope and not per document. So you can upload your transfer document and your contract and another document if you wanted to, and we charge £4.80 for the land registry deeds SignIT, and that is however many documents you've got in there and however many signers you have.
Okay, thank you. That's actually knocks out a few questions about costs. Thank you for that, Sam. Okay, so there's a couple of questions where people are sort of referring back to questions earlier, and I think it's probably easier if we respond to those offline. Bear with me while I just spin through and look for some fresh questions that we can easily answer on the call. Okay, does the system require that the witness can see the full document? We had a similar question last week, actually, didn't we?
Yeah, so the witness is able to see the full document. It's important that the witness is actually able to see what they are witnessing. I know they are just witnessing the signature, and if you were to be signing that wet ink, I'm sure they would just be given it on the correct page for them to witness the signature. With electronic signatures, they need to actually see what they're signing, so they do have access to the full document, but they should also be present with the signer, and they do not get a copy of it later. They only receive that copy, that email with the link to the document after the original signer has signed, and so the time that they will have access to that document is very limited. Hopefully that answers the question.
Yeah, so thank you. Okay, just time for one or two more. As I mentioned earlier in the call, if I haven't read out your question, we are not ignoring them. We will follow up on everything after the call directly, so you will get a response. Here's one. Would adding more than one title number to a transfer document throw up any issues? For example, if a property is sold with an additional parcel of land included, can both property prescriptions be added through SignIT?
Yeah, you can add more than one title number. You can just put a comma, and then you won't be able to use the verify button. But if you just type in the property address and the proprietor, that's absolutely fine, and we'll pull through the information that you've put there into the conveyancer certificate for you.
Okay, thank you. There's a couple of questions here also, just noting that the screen that Sam showed looks slightly different to the screen that you might have in your own platforms. So again, those are best followed up directly either with Sam or with the account managers. So we will make sure that that happens. We are coming up to time now. Thank you all for your questions. Thank you all for your attention. Sam, thank you for spending the time to run through that. As I say, all questions will be answered, and we'll follow up with everybody in the call after we've closed off. And we will also circulate a recording for those of you who might want to share it with a colleague or perhaps refer back to some of the things that Sam stepped through today. So on that note, thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your day.